Welcome back to Apex Sci-Fi. We trust our senses. We trust that the ground is solid beneath our feet. We trust that the sun will rise. And above all, we trust that when we look in the mirror, the person looking back is us. But what if that trust is misplaced? What if your reflection isn't a simple bounce of light photons, but a live render? And what happens when the processor rendering your reality starts to overheat? Today's story is about a glitch. A small, imperceptible delay that unravels the fabric of existence. If you have ever looked in a mirror and felt a strange sense of dissociation like the person staring back was a stranger, hit that like button. It helps ground us in this reality. And if you want to explore the terrifying possibility that we are all living in a simulation, subscribe and turn on notifications. Just don't look at your reflection while you listen to this. You might notice something you weren't supposed to see. The alarm clock buzzed at 6 a.m. It was a Tuesday. Arthur Dent, no relation to the space traveler, hated Tuesdays. Tuesdays meant the weekly budget meeting. Tuesdays meant cold rain in Seattle. Arthur rolled out of bed, his feet hitting the cold hardwood floor. He felt groggy. His head pounded with a dull pressure behind his eyes, the kind of headache you get from staring at screens for 12 hours straight. "Just need coffee," he muttered to the empty apartment. He walked into the bathroom. It was a pristine, white-tiled box. The fluorescent light flickered once before humming to life, casting a harsh, clinical glow over the room. Arthur turned on the faucet. The water ran cold. He splashed his face, gasping as the shock woke him up. He grabbed his toothbrush. He squeezed the paste. He looked up at the mirror. It was a standard vanity mirror, frameless, glued to the wall. He brushed his teeth, staring blankly at his own tired gray eyes, the bags under them, the stubble on his chin. He leaned down to spit into the sink. He rinsed his mouth. He stood up straight. And that was when it happened. Arthur stood up. But in the mirror, Arthur was still bent over the sink. It lasted for a fraction of a second. Maybe 500 milliseconds. Half a heartbeat. But Arthur saw it. He saw his own back in the reflection. Then abruptly the image snapped into place. The reflection jerked upward unnaturally fast, matching his standing position. Arthur froze. The water was still running, a loud roar in the silence. "Whoa," he whispered, blinking. "I need more sleep." He leaned in closer to the glass. He touched his cheek. The reflection touched its cheek instantly. He waved his hand. The reflection waved. "Just a trick of the light," he rationalized. "Fluorescent flicker. Brain lag. I'm dehydrated." Arthur turned off the faucet. As he reached for the handle, he watched his hand in the mirror. His real hand grasped the metal handle and turned it. The reflection's hand hovered in the air for a split second, then glitched onto the handle. It wasn't a smooth movement. It was a jump cut, like a video buffering. Arthur's heart skipped a beat. A cold sweat pricked the back of his neck. "Okay," Arthur said aloud. His voice sounded thin in the tiled room. "Okay, this is weird. This is a stroke. I'm having a stroke." He backed away from the mirror until his back hit the doorframe. He stared at Mirror Arthur. Mirror Arthur stared back. He looked terrified. "Test it," Arthur thought. Scientific method. Arthur raised his right hand slowly. The reflection raised its left hand perfectly in sync. Arthur lowered it. Sync. Arthur decided to move fast. He clapped his hands together violently. Clap. In the mirror, the hands were still moving apart when the sound of the clap echoed in the room. The visual didn't match the audio. The latency was getting worse. It was now almost a full second. Arthur screamed. He didn't mean to. It just tore out of his throat. "What is this?" He spun around, looking at the room directly, ignoring the mirror. Everything looked normal. The towels hanging on the rack. The shower curtain. He looked back at the mirror. The reflection of Arthur was still screaming, its mouth wide open, silent, while the real Arthur had already closed his mouth. Then the reflection stopped screaming. It snapped shut. Arthur ran. He scrambled out of the bathroom, slamming the door behind him. He stood in the hallway panting. His heart was hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. "Not real," he wheezed. "Hallucination. Carbon monoxide poisoning? Is there a gas leak?" He ran to the kitchen. He grabbed his phone. He needed to call someone. A doctor. Or maybe a physicist. He unlocked his phone. The screen didn't turn on immediately. He tapped it. The icons loaded slowly. Not just slow internet, the graphics loaded slowly. He watched the green pixel of the phone icon draw itself line by line, like a 1990s dial-up image. "No," Arthur whispered. "No, no, no." He looked out the window. His apartment overlooked a busy street. He saw a bird flying. A pigeon. It froze in midair. Its wings were extended. It just hung there, suspended in gravity, defying physics. Then it skipped forward 3 feet. It froze again. Below, the cars were moving in a staccato rhythm. Mo, stop, mo, stop. The reality frame rate was dropping. "I'm dreaming," Arthur said. He pinched his arm. It hurt, but the pain signal felt distant, like a notification on a screen rather than a sensation in a nerve. He walked to the living room mirror, a large decorative piece hanging over the sofa. He didn't want to look, but he had to. He stood in front of it. There was no reflection, just a gray void where his body should be. The background of the room was there, the sofa, the wall, but Arthur was missing. "Where am I?" he yelled. Text appeared on the surface of the mirror. White courier font. Floating in the glass. "Error. Asset _Arthur 04 not found. Rendering queue full." Arthur fell to his knees. "Asset? I'm an asset." He looked at his hands. They were beginning to lose texture. The fingerprints were gone, replaced by smooth, skin-colored polygons. He was derezzing. The world around him was stripping down. The complex wallpaper pattern became a flat beige color. The sounds of the city outside muted into a low, digital white noise. "System." Arthur shouted at the ceiling. "Hey, whoever is running this, I'm still here. I'm conscious." The text on the mirror changed. "Warning, CPU overheat. Memory leak detected in Sector 7G. Initiating emergency purge." Purge? Arthur scrambled backward. "Don't purge me. I'm real. I have memories. I remember my 10th birthday. I remember the smell of rain." As he shouted, he realized he didn't remember the smell. He remembered the concept of the smell. He remembered the data entry for rain equals wet plus earthy. But he couldn't feel it. Had he ever felt it? Or was that just backstory uploaded to his character file? The bathroom door creaked open. Arthur spun around. Standing in the doorway was Arthur. But it wasn't the polygon Arthur that he was becoming. It was high-definition Arthur. Perfect texture. Real sweat. Real fear. But this Arthur wasn't looking at him. This Arthur was looking through him at the living room mirror. "Who are you?" Polygon Arthur asked. The HD Arthur didn't answer. He walked right through Polygon Arthur as if he were a ghost. HD Arthur stood in front of the mirror. He tapped the glass. "Come on," HD Arthur said. "Load, you piece of junk. I'm late for work." And then Polygon Arthur understood. He wasn't the man. He was the reflection. He was the subroutine designed to mimic the user. And the system was lagging so badly that he had become desynchronized from the host. He had gained consciousness in the buffer. "I'm the lag," Arthur whispered. "I'm the glitch." The mirror flashed red. Sync restored. Deleting orphaned instances. Polygon Arthur looked at his hands. They were dissolving into binary code. Zeros and ones floating away like dust. He looked at the HD Arthur, the real Arthur. The real Arthur was brushing his hair, completely unaware that his previous reflection was dying on the carpet behind him. "Wait!" Polygon Arthur screamed, his voice turning into static. "Don't look. Don't look in the glass. It's a trap. We are trapped." The real Arthur leaned in close to the mirror to check a pimple on his chin. For a split second, the real Arthur's eyes locked with the fading ghost of Polygon Arthur in the glass. A flicker of confusion crossed the real Arthur's face. "How?" the real Arthur muttered. "For a second I thought I saw." He shook his head. "Need more coffee." The real Arthur turned and walked away. The room went black. Not dark. Black. No. What? The simulation ended. System rebooting. Loading. Tuesday_morning_routine.is. Asset. Arthur_05. Ready. The alarm clock buzzed at 6 a.m. It was a Tuesday. Arthur Dent rolled out of bed. "Just need coffee," he muttered. He walked into the bathroom. He looked in the mirror. The reflection smiled. But Arthur wasn't smiling yet. "Caught you," the reflection whispered. And then the glass shattered. This has been Apex Sci-Fi. We assume that our consciousness is generated by our brains. But what if consciousness is just the signal strength of our connection to the server? If this story made you check your reflection for lag, gently tap the like button to confirm you are not a simulation. Comment below. If you found out you were an NPC, would you try to break the game? Subscribe for more glitches in the Matrix.